I'll clap you off.
All right, guys. My name's Tony Monteleone. I'll be your host for the night. Usually up here with Matt, but this is actually the first event that I can remember where Matt's not here.
Yeah.
It may be the first event that Matt's never here. So I know you're Medi Ian. I'm jealous. Hello. We all love you, Matt. Great event tonight. Launch Fishers has been gracious to help us out with setup, letting us visit, coming in and out. This is a great facility if this is your first time here. Curtis is somewhere, just there in the back, curly-haired Curtis. Say hi to Curtis, find out what this facility is about. Co-working space, and they do all kinds of stuff inside here, but a great place to get away, meet some other entrepreneurs, other tech people, quiet work, whatever the case may be. So thank you to Launch Fishers. We had another event tonight, the Innovation Showcase. We'll talk about that a little bit tonight. There are some people from the Innovation Showcase that are going to be in and mingling with everybody else. So please say hi and make them welcome, which leads me to the next thing, because this may be the first Verge event for a lot of those Innovation Showcase people. Who is the first or second Verge event ever that's in the room right now? Bring them up high. First or second Verge event. Those of you who are veteran Verge members, please say hi to these people. Talk to them, mingle with them, find out what they're all about, what they need, what they're looking for, why they're here. There's a reason that they're here. And I know my very first Verge event, I had lots of people, come up. I met Brandon my very first Verge event, and Matt, and they really make you feel welcome and home. And it was the very first time that I'd left the walls of Monster.com and said, oh my gosh, there are people like me out there. So you're in a very safe place. So
we're gonna share later on. All of us share.
But don't be afraid to network. If you're a developer, tell us what you do. Tell us what language you develop in, what you're looking for, and if you're looking for side work or a startup to be part of, or if you're just here because your boss made you come. I don't know what the case may be. Those entrepreneurs and marketing people out there, I know you like to talk. So pull some stuff out of them. Make them talk to you, and then let's make some good connections. So we've got some amazing pitches tonight, so I want to talk about the format in case you haven't been here before. First off, pull your phones out. A lot of the communication that happens goes through Twitter. First, check in on Foursquare, Launch Fishers Verge Indie, or Launch Fishers, just check in there. We're going to communicate through the hashtag Verge Startups. Yes, Verge Startups. Hashtag Verge Startups. After the pitches are done, which we'll talk about, if you've got questions that you want to ask of the presenter, that's where you're going to ask your questions. I may pop out and grab a question out of the crowd, but please tweet your questions, tweet pictures, talk about what's happening out here, because there's a lot of people who come to the Verge events who just sit at home right now and follow that stream, and they want to know quotes of what people are saying and pictures of what's happening and the things that you're talking about. So that's that. Our @ tag is @VergeIndie, not Verge Startups, @VergeIndie. If you want to follow that and tweet to us. And then we're going to have 2 startup pitches tonight. It'll be 5 minutes. And the slow clap that we were doing at the beginning here to get you all quiet because you wouldn't stop talking, we will do that with a few seconds left to let them know, like, hey, man, get off the stage. So Max Yoder, a good friend of mine, will be presenting tonight with a company that my company is actually utilizing now, which I'm really excited about. So Max will be awesome. Chris Palmer, I just met Chris and had the first conversation with him tonight. He's going to be awesome, and our first presenter. So 5 minutes, slow clap off stage. Questions through the Twitter hashtag. I think I've covered everything. After those pitches are done, we will have some special announcements. We got an exciting one to tweet you or to talk to you about. We're going to go about that as well. And then Chris Beltran will come up and do a fireside chat with us tonight. So we're going to learn about him and his past and hopefully take some things away from that conversation that will help us better ourselves and continue to do what we're doing. So we're glad you're here. We have Venture Camp here tonight. Please, big round of applause for Venture Camp. Yeah, if you're at Venture Camp, please stand up and wave to the crowd for us.
Everybody wave back.
Venture Camp. So I may do this wrong, and please, I apologize in advance if it's wrong, but Venture Camp is like a reality TV show mixed with a startup incubator. And we've got a camera crew that's around filming us, and say hi to those people, find out what they're about, because I'm sure there's, 3 companies, right? 3 companies being started inside this show, and I think you'll see that it'll be successful. The guy that's running that's a pretty cool guy. So without further ado, are we going to the pitches?
Let's go to the pitches.
Let's go to the pitches.
Let's go to the pitches.
Chris,
You ready? Let's bring you up.
so, yeah. So, if you have ever bought and sold anything before, sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's really easy, but I think what I've found is you've got to actually enjoy it. If you're going to put something up on Craigslist or eBay or something like that, and this guy is coming out with a company that is supporting a company he's already started that's going to help business-to-business sales like that. I hope I'm pitching this right. But he's on it. He's working with some great people in the startup community, Foxio, who's building some stuff out for him. I'm going to hand you the mic, get my phone pulled out for 5 minutes, and then we'll get started, okay?
Sounds good. All right, Chris, are you ready?
Yeah.
Do it.
Hey everyone, I'm Chris, and I'm the founder of BoxFox. So just entertain me for a second and forget about your career that you currently have, and imagine you have a job change, and you're the owner of a small retail business. You may have a store just like this one, where your livelihood depends on selling physical merchandise profitably to your customers. But inevitably, every year, there's inventory you don't end up selling. So there's 2 problems with that. One, you have capital tied up in that inventory, so it's stale. You could be investing it elsewhere. And your vendors that you have contracts with, you got your products from, they actually are really difficult because they specify exactly when, where, and for how much you can sell your products. So you're likely to do one of 3 things. You're likely to put it on sale and discount it in your store, which is good, works to an extent. But second, you might actually put it on eBay or Amazon, but that's a bad idea because your vendors will crack down on that and they could potentially pull their entire product line from your store. And then lastly, you might just give it away. You might just discard it and give it to Goodwill. And it's that last option of giving it away that we see happen all day long. For example, last fall, a good friend of mine who owned a really nice retail store, still does, in Indianapolis, gave away over $4,000 of high-quality brands like North Face merchandise, really good stuff. He just couldn't sell it. So I'm thinking, this is a huge problem for this guy. I wonder how many other people it's a problem for. So we did some research, and it turns out that the market of retailers in the U.S. is actually predominantly small. 99% of U.S. retailers just have 4 or less locations. That makes up over 700,000 retailers that collectively have over $6 billion of excess merchandise every year they have no good way of liquidating. So we started a business called SupplyKick, and SupplyKick has been successfully buying and reselling small to large retailers' products. We're already up to $500,000 in our first year revenue. And what we want to do is we want to scale what we've been doing here successfully in Indianapolis to the nationwide web-based market. So enters BoxFox. Great. So BoxFox is on its way to becoming an online B2B marketplace for small retailers to appraise, get a real-time value right away for their merchandise, and then actually liquidate it to other businesses. And the model for the marketplace is transaction fee-based as well as subscription fee-based from the reseller side, the people actually buying products from the marketplace, to pay if they go above certain tiers of merchandise. Stupidly easy to appraise, sell, and ship excess merchandise. For the retailer, they scan, upload their products with an attachment or scan, then they get a real-time appraisal. They decide whether or not that's worth it to them, down to the specific item that they're happy with. They ship it out in a really fast, streamlined process, and they get paid when it arrives in the seller's or the buyer's hands. Semantics 3 is an awesome tech company that supplies all of the product and price data, current and historically, for us. It's also really safe. There's good protection so that the retailers they don't want to have the ramifications with their vendors. So this is the double-blind transaction. It masks the seller's identity and the buyer's identity, and there's an authenticity to each side of the relationship. It's both authorized businesses. The horizon for us is 3 weeks from now, we're going to have a basic prototype ready and testing with our core group of retailers. Private alpha, September this year. Series AA rounds in the third, fourth quarter of this year. And then by January of 2014, we aim to have 150 new retail users each month. We had really great success in getting invited as a finalist out to Y Combinator out in Silicon Valley just 2 months ago. We didn't ultimately get their funding, but we did get funding from Startup Chile, which is a globally recognized startup incubator in Chile. I'm actually leaving to go down there in a month, where I'll be there for the duration of the 6-month program. It's $40,000 in equity-free financing, plus a lot of free resources. Really jacked about that. And also, tonight, our ask for all of you is if anyone has the ability to introduce us to some retailers, we just love getting their insight into our product, being able to target it exactly to their needs. Feedback generally from the whole crowd. Love to get your feedback. One more. And then we're looking for a lead Ruby on Rails or Python developer, also as a co-founder, and the potential investors for later this year when we have an active fundraise going on. Great. Questions? Yeah.
This guy asked me for 6 minutes to start with, and you came in a whole minute under. Pretty sweet. I told him that he could have 6 and Max would go down to 4, but he wasn't going for it. So, am I getting any questions? Oh, what do you do with the excess inventory for the retail stores? Does that make sense?
I think I might clarify the question. Where does it ultimately end up? Is that maybe the question?
Nan, is she here? No, she may be live streaming.
That's fine. So the merchandise gets sold across the marketplace. It ends up in the hands of a reseller, such as the company that I run, SupplyKick, and then we resell it through whatever channel can bring the highest profit for us. We primarily do marketplaces today. We're less than a year old, so we just got the first start in eBay and Amazon being the primary channel for us. But it could be somebody that's like a flea market seller, or it could be a large retailer that just wants to augment their existing product offerings with other cheaply acquired products.
Sweet.
Any questions from the crowd? I'm not getting anything over Twitter.
Where's the inventory stored between when you get it and you get it to the buyer?
Get the other mic.
Yeah, I'm going to switch mics real quick. Can you repeat the question?
Yeah. The question is, where is the inventory stored when we get it from the retailer? And there is no storage. It's just like in eBay model, where the inventory goes straight from the seller's hands who has it into the hands of the buyer. It gets shipped.
Any other questions? Brandon?
What was the biggest takeaway from the Y Combinator experience?
Biggest takeaway from Y Combinator, be succinct. We had 10 minutes with the founder of Gmail and other prolific entrepreneurs. Be very succinct, as well as they're looking for $1 billion plus opportunity, and I can see our revenue in 3 years being $50 million, and so I laid that out with confidence, but still $50 million isn't enough to really break their radar.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah?
What was the biggest challenge why the Silicon Valley investors didn't see that, or not value, but want to invest?
Yeah, they actually said it was a very tough decision for them. They were very impressed with our knowledge of the space, the sales we manually made thus far. They thought we could build a great business that could get acquired by a larger company in the space like Overstock.com or eBay. However, it was just that they saw the market potential for us being in that $100 million range, and they really need to see a B. They need to see the $1 billion range. They want Instagram, Facebook, Google opportunities.
Done questions? Chris, are you going to be here this evening?
Yeah, I'm handing out.
Okay, Chris is going to be here to answer questions. If anybody's got anything, let's give him another round of applause. Thanks, buddy. Come on up, Max. So Max is going to pitch to you guys Lessonly, and I met Max probably, a year and a half, 2 years ago. And this is actually a tool that my company is utilizing. I'm going to let him go into it as much as he can here right off the bat. But basically, this is trading much easier than most of the bigger companies are doing with. But Max is going to do a good job explaining this. So round of applause for Max.
Thank you guys very much for coming out. My name is Max Yoder. For the past year, I've been working with a gentleman named Christian Anderson, a gentleman named Mike Fitzgerald, and a gentleman named Eric Tobias. And we have been looking into a problem and trying to extract an opportunity. So today I want to tell you about that problem. I want to tell you about why we think it exists and our solution for it, if you don't mind. I define the problem like this. I know that's hard to read. Growing companies are spending too much time, money, and effort doing two things: getting their stay clothes up to speed and keeping them there. What I mean by that is employee onboarding, ongoing corporate education, client onboarding and partner education, all of these things which are fundamentally crucial to a business are today easier said than done. And Mike, Christian, and Eric and I thought that was a shame. So we set out to figure out why that problem exists and then come up with a solution for it if we felt like we could, and it turns out we did. So that's why I'm here tonight. The perpetrator of this problem we found after doing customer interviews, after going and speaking to potential investors and potential partners, we found out that this problem exists because there's perception in the market. And this perception could be very real in certain cases and could be not real in other cases. But the perception is that the current learning solutions that are available out there are currently either inefficient, so they don't do what you need them to do, they're too expensive, or both. So with that knowledge in mind, we started to think about why that might be the problem today. And we realized that there's a lot of incumbents in the training and learning market. And it turns out that most of them were built in an offline world, and they've had to adapt to an online world, and that's not an easy thing to do. And some of them have done very well. The ones that have done very well tend to be very high priced, $50,000 and up. That leaves a lot of opportunity for us in the small, medium, and mid-sized businesses, and then eventually growing in to be competitors of theirs. If you want to kick over, if you don't mind. With that information in mind, we came up with this premise. And the premise is the basis for everything we do at Lessonly. And the premise is if we can make it easy and affordable for companies to build, distribute, and measure the effectiveness of their learning materials, we can do something really special. So that's what we've done, and we call it Lessonly. It's the simplest way for businesses to teach and learn. Lessonly is a three-pronged application that helps companies educate and train their workforces, their partners, and their clients in an intuitive environment in a web-based interface. If you move on to the next thing, you're not going to be surprised by how it works. We help you build, we help you distribute, we help you measure. I'm going to say those things a lot, because that's all we do, and we seek to do them very well. So let me show you how that works. This is an image of our authoring tool, which is very important when you're building lessons. Our authoring tool is intuitive. It's something that if you can type, you can teach. And it allows you to combine text, images, videos, and quizzes, however you see fit, and then you can kick them out. And you can assign them. You can assign them, I can say explicitly, Brandon Corbin needs to take Product Training 101 by July 22nd. Brandon gets, because he doesn't know what he's doing. And Brandon gets an email in his inbox. And he follows that link, and he takes that lesson. And then we get to see his results, which is the next screen. This is Brandon's report card. He didn't do so badly. He got 8 out of 10. His name's Brittany here, but he did well. We can also show lessons with a link. I don't need to go too deep into that. It's very simple. You can kick a lesson on your internal intranet and your internal wiki. If you want to send out an email to all your employees with a link, they can access the lesson that way. Either way, the data's still there. So the good news is we're just 5 months in, and it's working. We've got 2,000 learners in Lessonly right now across a multitude of clients, and thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Yeah, it's just really exciting because it's working, and people are getting value out of it, and that means a lot to me, and I'm just really excited to see where it goes. If you want to kick over to the next one. So tonight, guys, we've not done this before. We have a 15-day free trial on the website. I'm going to do a 30-day trial for anybody here tonight. If you want to come up and give me your business card, I'll email you tomorrow, and I can set you up with an account. I'm really proud about what we're working on, but I need you guys to tell me, where we can go with it and what we're missing, because we can guess a lot. It's really helpful when people get in there and have real problems, and they can help us guide the application. So anyhow, I really appreciate the time tonight, guys. You are a really quiet crowd. And that's really nice, because I've been in noisy crowds, and that can be not so fun. So thank you. Anyhow, come up and see me. I'll be around. It's Lessonly, corporate training. Thanks for your time. Hey, and let me give a shout out to these guys. I apologize. This is the team. This is the team. And I don't do anything without these guys. I shouldn't even be up here, but anyhow, these guys, I owe them a lot, and they can't be here tonight, but I just wanted to say thank you.
You guys say, we got questions.
Being from Indy, this is a very impressive team that he's got put together. Very knowledgeable. So real proud of Max for getting that team and the product put together. So no questions have come through over Twitter.
Got one. I got one. You got
one?
Yeah.
Twitter?
You got one.
No, I'm wondering how Lessonly's compares to Moodle and other LMSs.
Sure.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, so the question was, I wonder how Lessonly compares to Moodle and other LMSs. So Moodle is an open source platform. It's comparable to WordPress if you want to spin up your own instance. We compare to them by, I don't really ever make a comparison to Moodle. I think the companies who are looking into Moodle want a lot more things than we're going to offer them, and that's intentional. We're trying to build a really refined application. We don't want to follow the LMS space that has the calendaring systems and a bunch of features that they may or may never use. The benefit of Lessonly is we got a really refined application. We can offer a very low price point, and we can scale to your needs. And that's something that I think is very important, and I'm not about to go kind of follow somebody else's lead. I am not native to the training space. That's been a benefit in a lot of ways and a learning curve in others. But overall, that's not something that I want to be. So I wouldn't categorize myself that way at all, and I hope that helps.
Max, you got a question about cost per lesson.
So actually, every account has unlimited lessons right now. We're charging via user. And the way it works is, so we have a $100 per month application that allows you to train up to 25 people. And the neat thing about that is you can have more than 25 users. It's about who's actively learning in a given month. So you might have 100 people that you need to keep up to speed. You're probably not going to train them all each month. And we want to make sure that this thing's really right-sized. We don't want people to get to the end of the year and saying, yeah, we maybe paid too much for that, because that doesn't provide value long-term for us or them. So we're really trying to nail this pricing model, and I'm feeling really good about it right now.
One more question. Sorry.
Go
Go
for
for
it,
it.
please.
You're the visitor. Go ahead.
But then I want to answer.
So does the corporation provide the content, and do you have plans for content?
There we go.
Love it.
That was mine. That was mine.
And that's a great question, and I'm sorry I didn't address that in the pitch. Yeah, I'm sorry. The question was, do the corporations provide the materials, or do we help them with that? And it goes both ways. We have teamed up with instructional designers, and instructional designers are people who aren't native to the space, are people who are able to identify inefficiencies in companies and create curriculums to systematically solve those inefficiencies. So if you come to us and say, guys, we want to use the application, but we don't have the resources to build out the tool, the training materials, we bring somebody in. Like I said, our authoring tool allows you to do it yourself if you have the learning materials, and a lot of companies do. Start with the employee handbook, things that right now you're handing out and kind of hoping and praying that people read them. Let's put a little measurement behind that and be able to show you who's doing what, when, and how well. So that's the place I like to start. To answer your question is you can do it both ways, and we've got resources to help you on either side. Yeah, so actually, that's a good thing for me to let you guys know. I'm working with these instructional designers currently, and they're building out kind of these, I guess, plug-and-play curriculums. So if you want to come to us and say, hey, we'd like to get started today, we've got these software applications that we use internally. I want to have those resources where you can plug in and do Basecamp 101, or Salesforce 101 and 202 and 303.
So marketplace?
Yeah, we're open. Yeah, that's the idea, is that you can buy this application and you can go, I want that, and then you can start on day one. So, it's something that we need to get to, and we'll get there, but we're not there yet.
Let's give Max a round of applause. Max is going to stick around, so if anybody has any questions for him, grab Max. So thanks, Max. Am I on the Innovation Showcase now?
Well, I can go all the way back. A little bit.
Was it at the beginning?
It was at the beginning, and you just skipped right over it.
So we're going to bring Chris. Chris, do you have a drink to bring up? Are you okay? Can someone get Chris a bottle of water or a beer? Do you want a beer? You're good? Okay. So the Innovation Showcase, I want to talk about that really quick. Who here does not know what the Innovation Showcase is? Perfect. All right. So I'm going to pull up the actual terminology so I don't give you what I experienced, because I'm sure it was two different things. Innovation Showcase brings 60 fundable companies together for 60-second pitches in an expo. So there's a big room full of companies basically with booth space pitching their idea to investors. For a chance to win $60,000 in cash, prizes, and services. It's coming up on July 11th. And it's brought to you in conjunction with us, Verge, and the Venture Club. And both of our pitches tonight are actually going to be pitching at that Innovation Showcase, so see you both there. And then you can grab your tickets at theinnovationshowcase.com. So I pitched at that 2 years ago, and I was just telling somebody when I ran into him before we started this that I would put my experience at the Innovation Showcase probably in my top 3 experiences when I first started pitching to investors and things that you need to go through. And I mean, it'll really challenge your health and things like you're interviewing the investor just as much as the investor is interviewing you. So there's some great lessons to take from that. So without further ado, we're going to bring Chris Beltran up to the stage for our fireside chat. The last thing here is we're almost done. We'll spend some time with Chris. This comes the time when you guys are wanting to start your side conversations. That's great. If you want to start talking, take it into another side room. And then I will have at the end of this an opportunity for a few questions from the crowd to ask Chris. Hopefully I cover everything well enough that you won't need to. But if you have a question, come up and talk to Alec or Brandon right up front here, and we'll get you taken care of. So let's welcome Chris.
All right, that works. That sound good?
That's great. Curtis, where Curtis is at. This mic is not handling itself very well, so I don't know if it's a connection or what. Chris and I have actually known of each other for quite a while, but actually got to spend time with him for the first time yesterday at lunch as we were catching up, and it is eerie how much we've gotten in common through our experiences with startups and life, and I can't wait to spend more time. But one of the things that I really like about fireside chats is when someone tells us things that we can actually take away and start to apply to our experiences. And I think Chris has really got a lot of that. So what I'd like to start with is you just give us a little bit of background about what you've just went through with your first startup that turned out as a great experience, and then we'll start to move into the journey. So.
All right, sweet. Thanks, Tony. Yeah, first of all, welcome everybody that's new. It's a fantastic thing to see that in our community. It's very, very important that we have that kind of energy flowing through. So all of you guys in Venture Camp and all that, that's awesome. Totally, totally jazzed about that. As far as myself goes, so I'm from Texas originally, no family whatsoever in Indiana. Came up here for electrical engineering at Purdue. Ended up coming up with some software while in school, so dorm room style, kind of typical standard story there. Ended up doing well in the business school competitions, won Burton Morgan and did some international stuff, won really well. Ended up getting an investor, had no plans to start a company at all. It was more, hey, bank here in town, it was bank software. Here in Lafayette, you want some, I'm looking for money, I'm a poor college kid looking for some money to basically get enough money to go out and get a real job somewhere. The bank said, hey, have you ever thought about staying here in Indiana? We have some extra cash, we have $100,000, we're willing to put it in, see where it goes. And by the way, we'll help you, show you the market, give you some resources, go from there. I thought at the time $100,000 was amazing. So my biggest problem at that time was yellow or red Ferrari, right? That was basically it. I have a huge thing for Ferraris. So that was my joy. It was like, yes, done, signed, go. Everything else, who knows? All this equity and operating agreement stuff, it doesn't matter. Turned out that was pretty all right. Realized really quick how fast $100,000 can go. But we started in 2003. I grabbed a co-founder that I found was really great at sales at Purdue. We needed 3 banks to sign on. It was employee collaboration software, LMS included, although Lessonly really, really kicks our ass. So that's really awesome, by the way. Very, very nice. Yeah, totally. Kudos. So we did all sorts of collaboration. We ran board meetings. LMS, we did a lot of culture work, so we care a lot about culture within a bank, how people's careers flow through, calendar, timesheets, expense reports. We needed 3 banks in our first year. We ended up getting 10, which was pretty wild. All throughout the Midwest, we were profitable year 1. It turns out the bank wanted 14%, which ended up being very nice. They didn't want so much. But to this day, we crossed our 10-year mark in January. We're in 7 countries now, I think, maybe 8. And we've been profitable and growing ever since. We were 27th fastest growing software company on Inc. 500 2 years ago across all categories, which was really awesome. So we kind of keep a low profile since we're mostly in banking space, but we've had a couple of really interesting customers with Hallmark and Walt Disney and stuff. So we've done some really awesome things. It's all here in Indiana, all in Lafayette, funny enough. I moved into Indy about 2 years ago, getting involved in the startup community down here. And up there I actually left. So what the experience he's referring to is the last October, I ran product development. So I'm code, architecture, whiteboards all day long. I departed and left operations, still own, but left the actual day-to-day last October. kind of embarked on this journey of, hey, who am I and where am I going next? So I'm actually in between startups, completely unemployed, which is a very odd, very awkward situation to be in. But that's kind of where I'm at now. So is that where you want to leave off? Is that cool? That's sweet. All right.
He's just keep going. He's already taken care of all the questions. So what I learned from you yesterday is that I think there's a lot of us that hit a place after the first startup, right? Where you just wonder what's happening. Like, did I do that right? Was there anything I could have done differently? And you don't know how to just slow down and take that in. And you're doing a very good job of that right now. So I'd like everybody to know, like, you wanted to run and start, but you were very well mentored to say, stop, take it in, and understand, and kind of what that process has been like for you.
So yeah, about 2 years ago, I started to get the, hey, this is more of the same feeling. And I'm a builder, and I love sparking companies and growing companies. So 0 to 50 employees is great. We're only at about 45 in the U.S., and we've got some teams overseas. But in the U.S., we're getting close to the 50 mark. Talk to my mentors, which are not affiliated with work. I think that's important. And they started guiding on, hey, maybe it's time to make a decision. Learn how to go from 50 to 100 employees, or start to bring in other people, and you go figure your world out. So obviously that was the course I took, and I'm very happy with that. The first thing I did after figuring out that getting a personal email address after 10 years is a really awkward feeling. Like the next day, is you use your work email. It's all I've ever had for 10 years out of college, and then you have to go back to Gmail, and all the names are taken, and you're like, all right, how many Chris Beltrans are there? You know? Awkward first day problem. But aside from that, I think it's extraordinarily important for, I work with a lot of startups that have started right out of college, like myself. And I think it's very easy for a 22-year-old or 21-year-old to lose yourself in the startup. I came from banking, I grew up with it, and obviously my first company was in that. So I was very well entrenched in the financial services industry, and I was known for that. So when I got on stage and talked about things, it was always because, oh, that's Chris at Passageways. So there was very little definition in my personal life around who I was. So who's Chris Beltran is a very interesting question. I hadn't answered that for myself. So I think it's really important for founders, when you go right into a startup, it's extraordinarily exciting, super passionate, you're up all night, you're doing all the great things, and you're successful. Great. When you depart that, whether it's successful or not, just because you want to be away from it, I think it's important. Excuse me. It's looking up already, man.
You're like Oprah. You're making them cry.
I think it's really important that you take some time to figure out yourself. So I went to a couple places where I know I can kind of take some time, be alone, get with good friends, you know, sit on a beach for a little bit, and then just kind of reflect. So that seems really cheesy, but oh my God, is that incredibly important. Start talking to a lot of your mentors, start to introduce yourself to new mentors, figure out who you are, and then you start to learn a couple of lessons that I thought were interesting before you start to come back. And I just arrived back a couple of weeks ago, so I'm still fresh and Indy, and then you go in with a completely different perspective of, hey, these are the people I want to work with, and this is what I want to do next. And I think that's a very exciting place to be. So I think taking some time for yourself is boo-boo important if you can.
So talk to us a little bit about those mentors. I know that I've found, and I talk to early entrepreneurs a lot about what I feel about the mentors, but how did you find them? What types of people were you looking for? These just fall in your lap. Talk to people a little bit.
Honestly, in my case, without going into names, some of them were just family kind of connections. So it was just people that, one odd connection, I can tell this one, I guess, is many of you guys probably don't know, because a lot of my friends my age don't know, but Chris Christopherson. He's a singer, songer, actor kind of guy from like the 60s and 70s. I don't know, a lot of people young my age don't know. But, so Chris Christopherson, singer, songwriter, Nashville, Rhodes Scholar, taught at West Point, did a huge pivot in life, and went out and spent 2 years being a trash collector in Johnny Cash's recording studio, which is super awesome. He read all the trash with Willie Nelson, who was his best friend at the time. He started reading that trash, understood contract law, figured out how the music industry works, took off from there. It's a total pivot, wild and crazy story. The connection there is my grandma was actually the nanny of the family growing up. So we've always had a very deep family connection with him and his family, so we used to visit them growing up all the time. So he was one of those. So it was a weird, very strange. Grandma's like, hey, by the way, I happen to be this nanny of this guy that did a real big change in life a long time ago. You probably don't know him. And it's like, really? Okay, cool. Yeah, he's a good guy to call. So there's a little bit of that. So sat with him for about a month or two in Maui and figured out kind of where to go next in life and what to do from there. So that's one. You asked. Yep. You'd be really surprised though. A couple of other ones though are people like the mailman or the guy at the post office. It's really odd where you can get some of this really good advice. Some of these are very well accomplished people. Eric's awesome, Tobias. There's a lot of good people in town. Those are always good people, but I think the more important thing is being very authentic about yourself. So as soon as I started to know myself better, I found myself talking about myself more. And that was new for me. I had never talked about myself. It was never me. It's always the dev team, the product, the initiative, the new promotion, the business, right? So I started to talk about me a lot more. What happened was, yes, there's these interesting family connections, but then I'm at the post office, right, talking about something, and the post office guy, like putting up stamps, says, oh yeah, my niece works in this world, she can probably help you, or oh, I know something about that, I did that for 20 years, and then I retired, and now I'm just doing postal work, and I love it, right? And he happens to be a super domain expert in whatever it is I'm talking about. It's like, what, really? So that's happened a couple of times. So I think the more important thing isn't interesting family connections, I think it's more about being able to talk about what you're about. And that's one of the things that I kind of want to talk a little bit about today was I learned when I got back I learned this a lot in the Bay Area and overseas a little bit too, is not to get too excited about ideas, concepts, or even products or companies. So I started understanding, a lot of people said, when you come out, you're coming out of your first startup, don't cook up something else. Of course, you have 100 things you're working on and lots of your original ideas, but I think it's more that a lot of the feedback I got from really good friends was start to let us know what your journey is and what path you're on. That's much more important, is that's how you start to pull people away. So I went through Silicon Valley, I talked to people at Apple, Square, Nest, you name it, a lot of different companies, a lot of different friends at these companies doing really good work. And I asked them, if I want to make another company built in Indianapolis, how do I get you to come out here? Or how do I get you to work for us from there, right? What is it going to take? Like numbers, hardcore, salary, equity, what does it mean? So they laid it out. They said, well, here's some numbers. At the end of the day, every single response is the same. They said, if your journey is something that we subscribe to and we want to align ourselves with, that's the driver. Because out of common journeys and out of common paths fall common passions. So that whole hunt for what's your passion, that's good. But if you dig deeper, a lot of it is what journey are you feeling? It's a very emotional, deep kind of thing. It's what journey are you on? Once you figure the journey on, out of that with your friends comes out this whole path. And then they say, great, we have this idea on how to maximize or optimize on this journey. And what happens out of that is startups, interesting ideas, concepts, and those kinds of things tend to win really, really well. So I started to think more in terms of, instead of a new piece of code that would do something interesting, it was more, wait a minute, before I do that, let me go in and figure out the journey and path. And that's kind of what the piece that I've learned on. So I think that's super, super important to concentrate on.
I love this. Mike's horrible, Curtis. I love that you went down that because that's exactly where I wanted to go. As somebody that's done it for a while, I mean, when I heard some of that yesterday, like that taught me. So I know out there that piece of information is great to have, and make good friends with Chris so you can meet them at all those companies. So I don't know if there's anything else about the journey part that you want to bring up, but if you don't, I want to kind of steer us more towards the learning pieces. So are you a reader? Are there certain books that you feel like are necessities for early entrepreneurs, for people who are moving from one stage to the next? What sort of reading materials do you feel like are good to go after?
Yeah, great question. So yeah, like anybody else, I read a lot. I personally used to, it was a really weird habit, but I used to not read big books. I used to read magazines more. Every journal in almost every tech industry, and literally I probably had like 200 magazine subscriptions, and that's an insane piece of mail that you got. And I would literally just read, and I'm talking every page, every ad. Like I would understand why Dell is changing the fonts on their ads, and it was really, really stupid and insane. But you learn an awful lot about advertising and marketing and stuff. after I got that piece, that kicked on, a lot of it was about what books do I read, right? So what do I pick up? I tend to gravitate towards books that have to do more with emotion. So I love the Crossing the Chasms, Move My Cheese. Those things are great. You have to do those. If you've never read Good to Great, you got to read it. But I think extending from that, I tend to like certain people that take a different, almost a magical approach to things. So software is super fun, and I will talk hardcore code all this. I love that stuff. But it's really boring when you're talking to bankers. Bankers could care less about that stuff. So you have to really find a way to engage people that are not about technology. And a lot of times we struggle with that. So one of the books that I could at least easily throw out is super mainstream. So no heckling at all. It's a Kawasaki book. It's a guy Kawasaki. It's Enchantment. And I really, really liked that one just because his twist on it was so interesting. It was less about how to pitch a product and how to succeed in a business and more about, hey, don't forget that there's a magic potion you want to wrap around what you're doing because there's a human element to what we're trying to do. We're trying to change the lives of people for the better and move things forward, and we can't forget that. So I guess Enchantment would be my first one.
I'm going to try this, and that's better. Thanks, Brandon. So I've actually not read Enchantment.
They creep me out.
It's doomed.
Just Matt.
No,
I need
yeah, Matt.
So we're getting close to cutting here, but I think what I want to know from you, and I think would be great questions for the crowd, is if you were forced to pick your top 2 tips to be successful. So I know right now your journey's taking you to what's next, but some of us are still looking for that first success. If you had to pick 2 tips of what you experienced during that, what would those top 2 tips be for us to take that?
Yeah, no, great, fantastic question. First answer is probably understand what you're doing even when you're totally alone, without any money, without anything else. If it all goes away, would you still pursue that journey? So I asked Chris Robinson that, same thing. He loves songwriting. He sings for fun, but he loves songwriting. Told him, if you never got fame or fortune, would you keep going? The answer, without even blinking, is yes. It was always yes. There's no stopping you. So life is short. I think if you can honestly and very, very authentically to yourself, authentically? I don't think that's the word, but anyways, to yourself, right? Yeah. Tell yourself that the journey I'm in far surpasses this particular endeavor, and regardless of the success or outcome of this endeavor, I'll still pursue it. I think that's a really good feeling. If you can wake up every morning doing that, that's awesome. That's lesson number 1 for me. Lesson number 2 is surround yourself with, if you were to do a list of every human being you know, including family, friends, everybody. It's a weird exercise. You probably do this alone. I'm going to warn you right now. Weird group activity. You want to look at everybody on the list that's smarter or smarter than you. As smart as you are or smarter than you, whatever smart means for you. Domain expertise, great code, witty, funny, whatever it means, cross everybody else off the list. Right? So everybody else that's not as smart as you or smarter, cross them off the list. Once you have that list, then look at every single individual on the list that you like. And when I mean like, I don't mean have one beer with them. I mean invite them to your family for Christmas, open up your life to them, fully engaged, right? So make yourself vulnerable to this person. They see you struggle, they see you, whether it's go bankrupt, get $1 million, whatever it is, your new house, have a baby, etc. They're going to see you through life events. Look at all of those people and cross everybody else off. Once you have that list, it's going to be really small, say it's 10, 20 people, those are people that are smarter than you and that you like to be around. You do everything you can to hang out and spend as much possible time with those people. Just spend time with them. Doesn't matter what you do. You work on business, work on your startup, go to the beach together, spend Christmas, doesn't matter. Watch a TV show, but spend as much time as you can with those people. And somehow that will totally elevate your entire game and just the magic that happens when you do that.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah, that answered my question really well. So we're startup people, so you're going to have to grow a pair. You're coming up to this mic to ask a question. So somebody got a question for Chris? Want to come up here and ask? Oh, seriously. No, let's go up front. Come on. Don't answer until it comes up. Yellow or red Ferrari. That's it. Anybody else have a question for Chris?
Who's Chris?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Why am I sitting up here? That was you put it on a tee, didn't you?
Hey, man.
I know, totally. I set it up for him too, which is a total mistake. I know. I was like, backed it up. Sounds so good until you throw out the hard question. Still being determined. So, yeah, I think humble.
Well, how long ago was it that you stopped identifying with Chris, the business owner, to now just Chris, that individual? What that like you were talking about?
It hasn't been an aha moment. It's been kind of a growth. So little things from, what kind of music do you like? Don't ask me that because I don't know yet. All I know is I love Sinatra and I always have. So, what kinds of books do you read? Very personal questions like that. It's really odd that you don't understand things like that about yourself. So I think for me, what I've learned about myself is I care a lot about human emotion. A lot more than, say, money or Ferraris or anything like that. In the beginning, I probably was like that. Now I care more about how people feel about something, and that goes with investors, coders, etc. I also care a lot about, I kind of have a new appreciation for the shortness of life, if you will. So when you start to look at things and you talk to people, everybody's like, oh, well, you have 5 shots left. You're 33 years old, 5 years every shot, you're done, and you have 5 opportunities to make it again. And it's like, whoa, they're not like that, So I think I've started to see kind of life as more, okay, I'm past my 20s, and now life's a lot shorter. So you start to appreciate that a little more. So I think I have more of a humble appreciation for that. Yeah.
That's a great question. You've got one in the back.
You alluded earlier to who you want to work with next. You didn't actually answer that question. I want to know who you want to work with next.
If I have to go down skills, I love people that care about culture, especially in the workplace. So a couple of projects I'm working on have to do with how do you improve culture in the workplace, everything from the review process down to lessons and so forth. So it's very interesting work there. I also have a distinct interest in, I guess it's a little bit buzzwordy, but Internet of Things. So I care a lot about sensors. So anybody that knows anything about sensors or building hardware monitoring devices, things like that, I care a lot about that. So I think I want to work with people that can take me kind of to the next level and understand themselves a lot more and are very individual. If you're self-reliant in spirit and things like that, I kind of value that a lot, and I admire that quite a bit. So I think I'm just looking for that. So if I have to go down the technical path, it's sensors and little hardware devices, Fitbit style, or culture software, which have to do more with people and how they interact with each other, especially in the workplace, because that's kind of where my expertise lies.
That's a great question.
Do you think you'll find that in Indiana?
Yes, easily. Yes. Resounding yes.
We're awesome.
Nice.
So you care a lot about human emotion and workplace culture. How did you figure out you care about those?
A lot of it was I was told. So we were pitching corporate portal software to banks, right? And we're teaching board members. So these older gentlemen who's never had an iPad in their lives, and they really want the iPad for Angry Birds, but they've said yes to our product so that they could get an iPad is really what we discovered. But what I noticed is when I'm speaking, I started to hit on the soft aspects of why they might enjoy the software rather than just the feature set. So there's always really cool features, but here's how it's going to make you feel. And I happen to have worked with a lot of older people, which 50 and up, and those people are much more sensitive to emotion and feeling. They want to feel good. And when you're dealing with board members, they have no boss. They don't care. They can buy you or anybody else, and they don't care. The money does not matter. They're going to get what they want, right? So you got to deal a lot more with emotions than, oh my God, I'm so excited. This is going to make me look really good in front of my boss for my next raise. That's a different sell to an IT manager than it is to a board member whose really true purpose is just to look cool in front of his golf buddies. Right, half the time in banking, unfortunately. And if any of you guys are bank board members, sorry. I thought this was the same crowd. But, so I think that was probably it. So a lot of it is just self-discovery. It's 10 years and one, speaking time and time again, you learn that about yourself. But it takes other mentors and the people around you to say, hey, Chris, you're talking a lot about architecture, but did you know you have a very, very distinct kind of talent in this one area? So a lot of people, it's just friends telling you and being open to that, I think.
Any other questions for Chris, guys?
You mentioned a lot when you talked about books that you like
So the question was trying to gear towards what type of books that he sticks with, and he's trying to find out if he sticks with self-help books or if he gets into personal interest novels and things of that nature.
Yeah, and no, it's a great question. If I have to go into like fiction, if you will, I love that. I'm huge into stories, so I love movie making. I have a lot of friends in movie making and storytelling and that whole world, and I love that stuff. So where I tend to slant is total little boy style, is CIA kind of stuff. So give me any Tom Clancy, all that stuff. There's something magical about spy agencies and all that good stuff. So anything with that, I usually go for that stuff, rather than kind of the romance novel say, but yeah, so yeah, definitely ghost stories. You have to have that to be, that's the human part, right? So I think that's really, really important, and I happen to love spies and everybody sneaking around the world. It's kind of cool.
Well, Chris, thank you so much for coming today. Let's give Chris a round of
Thank you.
Hey, Alex, how are we doing on beer back there? We got some thumbs up. Hey, stick around till the beer is out. We're going to pump the music up. Chris, are you going to be around for a little while?
I will certainly be here.
Grab Chris, grab a card, ask some questions. Thanks to our presenters today. Thanks, guys.
Woo!